Brian did not say anything to Sophia in reply. With a composed expression on his face, his eyes were locked on his brother. Sophia bowed her head to him and walked past Bruce. Seeing that Sophia was leaving, Bruce spoke out. "Brother, I came to talk with one of my friends here. I'm also leaving." Bruce glanced at Sophia, who was headed in the direction of the elevator, and decided to go after her. But before he could do that, Brian's deep voice reached his ears. "Come inside." Brian turned around and walked to the couches. His words were like laws to follow. Bruce could not refuse his brother, so he entered this cabin. He closed the door and walked to the couch to sit with him. Brian was not only his big brother but also the head alpha of his pack. He had never felt jealous of his position or asked his father why he gave the throne to his big brother and not him. He was an alpha too. But Brian was the elder son, so from their childhood, it was decided that Brian was going to be the head alpha in the future. In Bruce's eyes, Brian was like an idol to him and every man in his pack, maybe other men in other packs as well. He believed no one could have the aura that his brother had. "Brother," he said as he took a seat on the opposite couch. Brian looked at him as if he were scrutinizing him. His eyes were gazing at him as though he could see his soul. Under his gaze, Bruce felt nervous. "Who is your friend?" Brian asked him. "What? You have just said you came here to meet your friend. Who is your friend?" "Oh, I." Bruce paused and scratched the back of his neck. In truth, he did not come to meet any friends here. He came to talk to his brother only. It was just after seeing Sophia that he could not help but almost change his mind and choose to go with her. "I'm waiting," Brian warned him. Bruce refocused on him and replied, "Forget about my friends. I wanted to meet you." Brian gave him a nod and lit a cigarette for himself. He glanced at Bruce and signaled him to continue. "Brother, it's been a while. You usually don't come to the pack house now." Brian had his own house, and he liked to stay there since it was close to the company. But their mother took a promise from him that he would have to stay in the pack house when he got married. Both of their parents wanted them to be with their children in old age. "So you came to meet me?" "Yeah, brother, how are you?" Brian puffed on the smoke. "Good." Bruce was quiet for a while after that. He was losing his words in front of him. Even their father could not talk to Brian with a strong head, so how could he just come and talk to him with a strong heart? "Don't be nervous. Spill the beans that you are holding inside," Brian said, looking at his nervous face. Bruce cleared his throat and started to speak. "Brother, why did you make her your secretary?" Brian raised a brow. "What's it with you?" Bruce gulped and answered back, "Of course I would care about it. She is my girlfriend." "Ex-girlfriend," Brian reminded him. Bruce shook his head. "No, brother. We had just broken up a little while ago, but I believe we will get back together soon." Brian frowned at his younger brother. There was a clear indication that he did not enjoy hearing it. The things that Bruce had said to him did not sit well with him. He realized it was his wolf who did not want to share his mate with anyone else. Not even with his brother. "Didn't you say she cheated on you?" Bruce was taken aback by the question. That day, on engagement night, he was scared that his family would get to know the truth. Therefore, in his rage, he placed all of the blame on Sophia because she had stated that she would never come back to him. However, today, he would not lie to his brother. Though he knew it would harm his image in front of his brother, he would say what was on his mind. "Brother, I lied that day." When Bruce noticed that Brian's eyes were becoming darker, he averted his gaze from Brian. "Why?" Brian's voice became more icy, which caused him to feel a tremor on the inside. While avoiding gaze with Brian, he replied, "My mind was messed up that night. The way she called you her mate, and then when I asked her to return to me, she refused. I was mad at her, so you lied and let the girl get humiliated in front of your family? What about the slap Mom gave her? You were silent that time, too." Bruce's eyes widened as he recalled that night. He could not believe that Brian still remembered each of the details of it. "Brother, I was wrong. I was in my route, and her friend came to seduce me. I had no other option but to accept her proposal. But when the next day I realized what I had done, I felt guilty. However, I was unable to suppress my desire as she persisted in her attempts to entice me. My wolf always wanted to have someone close to him. Brian scoffed at him. Do you have more desire than your head alpha, who is always stressed at work and runs your whole pack without making a scandal with women? Bruce lifted his head to look at Brian. Brother, I am sorry. I should not have lied to you all. Brian did not look calm anymore. He was giving him the cold shoulder, which made Bruce shudder inside. Putting all the blame on your wolf is not something a real man does. Be a man and accept your faults. I swear I am regretting it, brother. I asked for forgiveness countless times, but she is adamant about forgiving me. So do something and help me. There was a grimace on Brian's face. What do you want me to do? I was not the one who cheated on his girlfriend. Bruce took a deep breath and requested it. Brother, help me get back with her. I know she still loves me. In an instant, Brian's eyes flashed red, then turned back to black again. Don't forget that she is someone else's mate. Bruce was taken aback. But brother, you... Brian got to his feet, threw the cigarette butt away as soon as he finished smoking it, and then gave him a warning. Stop wasting your time on her. She doesn't love you anymore. Sophia had once again become extremely busy with her work. She was learning many new things as the days passed. She had only been working with Brian for a few weeks, but she had already established herself as a professional woman. From the etiquette of communication to the eating manners, she had learned everything from Brian. Sophia's life came to a point where she did not have to worry about her future, but rather about her present. Each day was challenging for her. There was one thing that had changed, and that was Sophia's heart. She started to develop feelings for her mate. She had no idea how it happened, but whenever she thought about him, she ended up losing her mind. The fact that Brian had seen her staring at him caused her to feel embarrassed a few times. It was just a few days ago that she came to the realization that she had fallen for him. She used to deny her heart until one day she decided to acknowledge her feelings for him to herself. But something had happened to Brian. He started to behave coldly toward her once again. She was completely unaware of what had transpired. If she recalled everything, Brian was being kind to her up until the time that Bruce arrived at his office. Sophia always wondered what had happened to the two brothers. Did Bruce say something to Brian about her? On the other hand, Bruce did not stop pestering her. In fact, he began to come across more as if he had a new hope or something. Every time Sophia entered the campus, she heard others talking about how Bruce was in love with her and that he could do anything for her. Bruce had turned into a lover boy who was running after her. Sophia always ignored him on campus and spent her time with her friends. Nowadays, Luisa looked gloomy, as if she had to take on a lot of workload. Sophia was shocked that Luisa had to work just like other employees. She could not understand the reason behind it. Because she knew it was an internship, which meant that she would undergo training from more skilled people and acquire new knowledge. However, Luisa had to do many different things. At the moment that she walked into the office, Sophia was beaming with delight. A slight nod was given to her by the receptionist as a way of greeting her. As a result of the fact that everyone was aware that she was Alpha's personal secretary, every single employee who was walking by her greeted her. Sophia went to the top floor and walked to her cabin. She grabbed the notepad and began to look after Brian's schedule. She noticed today Brian had a pack meeting outside. She thought to inform him. However, she went to make coffee for him first. When she went to Brian's cabin, she saw him talking on his phone. "Keep an eye on him," Brian said, losing his tie. Sophia was confused. Who was he talking with? As Brian turned his chair, he became aware of her presence. He made a gesture with his hand, instructing her to bring the coffee to him. She nodded her head and went to give it to him. Sophia stood next to him, and she was about to give him the cup, but she trembled when she heard his words. "Then kill him. I don't have time to waste." Sophia was too shocked to control her reaction. As soon as her hand shook, the coffee spilled on Brian's white shirt. Brian stood up immediately as the hot liquor touched his chest through the shirt. Sophia's eyes widened. I am so sorry." "Do whatever I'm saying," Brian ordered the person on the phone before he hung up. He glared at Sophia, who looked horrified. "Alpha, allow me to clean it." Sophia hurried to the tissue box, which was placed on the desk, and returned to him after grabbing a tissue. She started to wipe his shirt with the tissue. She was very scared by his words, so she could not stop her trembling hands. However, when she saw the skin of his chest turn red from the hot coffee, she felt distress in her heart. She had no idea what got over her. She moved closer to his chest and began to dab on his red skin. She blew a little as she wiped it slowly. Brian fixed his eyes on her. He was watching her every move as well as the way she was reacting. When Sophia realized his gaze was over her, she raised her head and froze. His eyes met hers. She felt her heart start to run like a marathon. He did not break eye contact, nor did she. Suddenly, Sophia felt an invisible strength pulling her toward him. It was like something inside her wanted to go close to him. Brian's eyes moved from her eyes and shifted on her lips. Sophia felt a tickle in her belly, as if his eyes had just touched her lips. She was surprised when she felt him moving closer to her face. Just as his nose was going to touch hers, a knock on the door interrupted them. Brian looked away from her and moved back. Sophia was shocked by what was just going to happen between them. Was he going to kiss me? She thought, tightening her fist around her dress. Come in, Brian spoke out. The door opened and someone entered the room. Sophia looked at the man and gave him a nod to greet him respectfully. It was Robert, the beta of the pack. Beta Robert, she mumbled, still unable to get over the thing from a few seconds ago. Beta Robert gave her a nod and turned to Brian. His brows shot up as if he could guess the situation. Did I disturb you? His question made Brian almost roll his eyes. You came earlier. Whatever, I came for the meeting. You can call me punctual. Robert replied, shrugging his shoulders. Brian turned his head to look at Sophia. You are going to the meeting with me? Yes, Alpha, Sophia responded while looking at the floor. She could not look into his eyes. Go and change your clothes. Brian's words made her lift her head. Dress change? Why? What? Do you want to go to a pack meeting with these clothes? Sophia lowered her head to look at her dress. She could see ruffles on her clothes. It was because she had to carry it in her backpack and change it after her classes. It looked quite old, too. She could not get a chance to go shopping to buy new clothes. I don't have another dress right now, Sophia said, feeling embarrassed. Robert was listening to the conversation and spoke out. Brian, why don't you buy her some clothes before the meeting? Sophia looked at Robert and shook her hands. No, it's okay. Brian frowned at her. Okay, what? Do you think this dress is okay for a pack meeting? When will you take your work seriously? Hearing Brian, Sophia felt upset. He had returned to his cold attitude once again. He behaved like nothing had happened between them, and he was not going to kiss her a few minutes ago. By the way, what happened to your shirt? When did you start to drink coffee like this? Robert asked Brian, smirking at him. Brian glared at him. Shut your mouth and let's go. I don't have time for your nonsense. Sophia gulped as she realized that this man had always talked rudely with everyone. Brian walked to the door. Robert chuckled and motioned his hand toward the door as he looked at Sophia. She followed Brian and got out of his cabin. While Brian was heading forward toward the elevator, Robert began to talk with Sophia. I never get a chance to talk to you, but Edgar talks about you sometimes. He says you are a hardworking girl. He is a very kind man. That's why he thinks like that. Robert glanced at Brian, who paid no attention to them, and entered the elevator. Sophia and Robert trailed after him and went inside the elevator. Abraham is scheduled to be released from the warrior camp in 4 months. Robert reminded her about her brother. The realization that so many months had gone by and that the date of her brother's arrival was getting closer caused her to break out in a broad smile. Yeah, Sophia responded with a grin. From the mirror of the elevator, Brian could see her smiling face, but he had no reaction after looking at it. In the moment that they were leaving the company, everyone looked at them. She was able to observe everyone bowing their heads in respect to Brian. From the way in which they treated him with reverence, she felt shivers. Brian appeared to be a king as he walked past the people who lived in his domain. How can I forget? Alphas are the kings of their packs. Sophia said to herself and almost gave her a facepalm. In this modern time, People did not have a palace or a courthouse where the king would have to sit in order to administer additional punishments or manage the kingdom from that location. Even though they lived in pack houses, alphas in this digital world also had their own homes of their own. They had companies to run a pack business. Not only did they have girlfriends or mistresses, but they also had the ability to reject their mates. Sophia admitted that Brian was a really strong man. She had never seen him with women. In fact, he never failed to keep himself occupied at work, despite the fact that other pack alphas were forever embroiled in controversies for having sexual encounters with a variety of women on every night. Because of the presence of illegitimate offspring, several of them were forced to step down. When Sophia saw Brian getting in the back seat of his car, she thought to let Beta Robert sit beside him. So she went to grab the door of the passenger seat. However, Robert stopped her and told her to sit next to Brian. After sitting with Brian, Sophia felt nervous. She did not look at him and stared outside the window during the whole ride. She heard Brian and Robert talking about the other pack. They discussed the things the other pack's alpha could raise in the meeting. The car stopped in front of a shopping mall. Sophia went out of the car and gasped under her breath. It was the most expensive shopping mall in their pack, which only had branded showrooms. "Let's go," Robert said, entering the mall. When Brian made his way to the mall, he glanced at Sophia, who was still looking at the building. "Are you wasting my time?" His question made her come out of her thoughts and shake her head. "No, Alpha, I was just looking at it," she mumbled, stepping inside the mall. Sophia looked around the showrooms. So many costly clothes were displayed there, which she could see through the glass wall. "I will pay for my own dress. I can't let him pay for me. It's my dress. I can't take expensive clothes from him." Sophia set her mind when 3 of them entered a showroom. All the employees bowed to Brian. "Alpha, please have a seat and tell me how I can help you," the manager said to him. When Brian went to sit on the couch, he crossed one of his legs over the other. "She needs some clothes. Give your best designs to her," Brian replied to him. Sophia was stunned by his words. "Best design? No way. It will be more expensive," she thought. The manager returned with his team, who had a bunch of clothes. "You can choose the best one, miss," the manager asked Sophia politely. She went to the clothes and began to look at their price tags. She could not believe that each dress cost 1/3 of her last month's salary. She glanced at Brian and Beta Robert, who were looking at her, waiting for her to choose one. She turned away from them and picked the one that was the least costly of the other clothes. "This one. Go and change fast," Robert said to her. One saleswoman showed her the changing room. She thanked her and was about to enter when she heard Brian's voice behind her. "Pack all the clothes for her." She immediately turned around with a shocked face. "No, I don't need all these clothes." Brian gave her a stern look, which made her slap herself in the head to come here with him. She hurriedly went inside the changing room to change the dress. When she put on the new dress, she was nervous to go out of the room. She took a deep breath and opened the door. The moment she stepped out of the room, her eyes fell on Brian, who had changed his white shirt into a black one. "Wow!" Robert spoke out after looking at her. It made Brian turn his head to look at Sophia, and then his eyes landed on her. Brian was staring at Sophia. She looked beautiful and nostalgic. She decided to wear a dress that was violet in color, which brought out the natural glow of her complexion without drawing attention to it. Her hair was down, which gave it a wavy appearance. She had her hair placed over her breasts, concealing their shape behind it. Meanwhile, Sophia was nervous under his gaze. She rubbed her fingers together in worry about her looks. "Doesn't she look beautiful, Alpha?" Robert spoke out. Good," Brian said while turning his gaze away from her. Sophia blushed when she heard him. Brian turned around and made his way out of the showroom. Robert began to follow him behind. Sophia hurriedly ran over behind them. Behind her, the manager called out, "Miss, your clothes." 3 of them came to a halt and turned their attention to the manager. As Sophia approached him, she noticed that he was pointing toward the saleswoman who was working behind the counter. The woman placed so many bags on the counter. "Our men will assist you in taking your clothes to your car," the woman said to her, because there were too many bags for her to handle on her own. "How much?" Sophia asked her. She was surprised. "Sorry? How much do I need to pay?" Sophia asked her, pulling out her bank card. Because she had some savings in her bank account, she decided to pay using her savings, even if it meant that she would have to pay a high amount today. Nevertheless, she had no intention of taking anything from Brian. There was complete silence from the woman as she looked behind Sophia. In the moment when Sophia turned her head, she noticed Brian and Robert standing there together. Instead of paying attention to their expressions, Sophia began searching through the bags for the bill. As soon as she discovered the bill, her jaw fell in disbelief, and her eyes almost bulged out of their sockets. The total cost was 3 times greater than her savings. Sophia showed a look of utter disbelief as she gazed at the price. "Miss," the woman called her. No, I can't buy all of these. Just billed for this dress only," Sophia said while pointing to the dress that she was wearing. The manager walked to her and said, "Miss, you don't have to pay. Alpha has already paid the bill." Sophia switched her attention to Brian, who gave her a look that indicated he was annoyed. "Alpha, I can't take these clothes. You don't have to pay. I don't need so many clothes." "Miss, Alpha is the owner of this brand. You are not required to make a payment. It is credited directly from his account on the invoice." Sophia's eyes widened. She turned to look at Brian. He raised an eyebrow at her. "This is his showroom? His brand?" she thought. "Sophia, there is no need to pay. It's from your boss. Let's go," Robert told her, leaving the showroom. Brian did not move. Sophia lowered her head and walked to him. Right at that moment, he started to walk again. "Why didn't you tell me that it's your own company?" Her voice was hushed as she inquired. "Do I need to inform you of everything? As a personal secretary, you don't even know how many companies are under me. Such a shame." He uttered those words in a chilly tone. During the time that she was walking next to him, Sophia dropped her head. "I can't take those dresses from you. It's very expensive. I will pay you back soon." He stopped his pace and turned his head toward her. "Oh, really? And how will you do that?" Sophia glanced at him and felt dumbfounded. He was right. How would she manage to make so much money overnight? Only rich people could buy these branded clothes, and here Brian bought so many for her. "I will merge my salaries and then pay you back," she replied proudly. As a personal secretary, she would get a much higher salary than before. So, if she were to save them, she would be able to repay him. Brian stared at her for a while. She blinked her eyes a few times. "I am waiting for you two," Robert said to them when he turned his head and observed the two people looking at each other. Brian averted his gaze from Sophia and replied, "There is no need for you to pay me back. Just work hard." Saying that, he walked to Robert. Sophia stared at his back. His words touched her heart. It was not because he stated that she would not have to pay it back. Rather, it was because he wanted to give her something and did not want her to return the price. With a smile on her face, Sophia gently stroked her dress. "This is the first thing he gave me. I will treasure my clothes," she said while biting her bottom lip. As 3 of them left the shopping mall, Robert handed Sophia a bag. "Put it on before we reach the restaurant." They were heading to a restaurant to have a meeting with another Pax Alpha. Sophia opened the bag and looked into it when she got inside the car. She noticed a pair of high heels. "When did you buy it?" she asked Robert. "When you were changing your clothes," he replied. Eventually, Sophia came to the realization that she could no longer argue with it. She took off her sneakers and put on the high heels. Brian, who was sitting next to her, caught her attention with a glance. His gaze was fixed on her legs for a moment. As she sat up straight and tugged her dress down a little bit, her cheeks began to flush at the same time. She saw Brian turn his head to the window without saying anything. When they arrived at the restaurant, Sophia recognized that it was the same place that she had visited with her friends when she was upset over getting fired from her job. In a stealthy manner, she followed Brian and Robert around the restaurant while she peered around. All of the people bowed to Brian. The manager himself came to him and led them to the private cabin that had been reserved for the meeting. As soon as they reached the cabin, Sophia gulped. She noticed that there were 3 men inside the cabin, so that meant she would be the only woman there. She realized that being Alpha's secretary was not an easy job. The Alpha of the other pack stood up to shake hands with Brian as a way of greeting him, a gesture of respect between two leaders. Brian sat with an air of authority. Sophia stood beside him and began to organize the documents with great attention to detail. Her hands paused when she heard the other Alpha's voice. "I see. You have a stunning secretary. Is that the reason why Alpha Brian always buries himself in work and can't focus on his private life?" Sophia stood straight and glanced at the Alpha. He made his way to her by extending his hand toward her and introducing himself. "Alpha Anthony, the head Alpha of the Red Moon Pack." After shaking hands with him, Sophia cast a peek in the direction of Brian, who appeared unconcerned. "Sophia Berge." She took back her hand and greeted Alpha Anthony with a small smile. "Alpha Brian, you haven't answered me yet." "I am not answerable to anyone. I hope Alpha Anthony will focus on his private life rather than others," Brian said with a warning tone. The beta of the Red Moon Pack glanced at his Alpha. Alpha Anthony gave him a gaze not to argue with Brian. "Let's start the meeting." Robert let out as he found the situation awkward. Even though it had been an hour since the beginning of the meeting, it was still going on. Sophia continued to stand next to Brian. Due to the fact that she was wearing high heels, her legs were hurting, but she did not show it through her face. She tried to calm her expression. Throughout the entire meeting, she maintained a gentle smile on her face. After finishing the meeting, Alpha Anthony left with his beta and gamma. He came here for a deal. It seemed to him that Brian would be willing to make that bargain to him without any difficulty. But he was wrong. Brian was the king of the business world. The reason he did not end up giving him the deal was because he did not see any gains in that deal, which was something he desired. With a broken heart, Alpha Anthony had to leave the pack. In spite of the fact that Beta Robert had asked that they share meals together, they declined the offer and left as soon as the meeting was over. "He thought you would give in. So from the start, he started buttering you," Robert remarked. Brian scoffed when he heard that. "I am not here for charity but for business. If they can't impress me, my company will not assist their packs. As simple as that." Sophia was listening to their conversations. The Alpha and Beta's conversation was serious yet very friendly. She learned that Robert was Brian's good friend. She had seen Edgar talking friendly with Brian too. Did that mean her brother was also his good friend? Thinking about Abraham, Sophie's heart was overwhelmed. He would return to them very soon. All she could do was keep her fingers crossed that everything would be okay before he came back to them. When they left the private cabin, it was already evening. When Sophia was walking into the lobby area, she noticed a couple standing there. Her eyes brightened. Luckily, the couple noticed her and waved at her. She lifted her hand and waved back at them. Brian and Robert halted their steps and turned their heads towards Sophia. The couple approached her. She smiled at them and said, "Sarah Nolan, you two are here." "Sophia, my baby." Sarah rushed to hug her. Robert exchanged a glance with Brian. Nolan noticed the presence of two powerful men beside Sophia and bowed his head immediately. "Alpha," he said to Brian. Sarah also did the same and greeted Brian with a bow. "Raise," Brian said, looking at them. He recognized them. When he went to drop Sophia off at one of their houses, he had seen them in the club, and he had spotted them in the club with her earlier too. "What are you doing here?" Nolan asked Sophia as soon as he raised his head. "I came here with Alpha for a pack meeting. What are you doing here?" Sarah blushed, which made Sophia understand that she just asked a silly question. Of course, they had come here for a date. We were just about to leave. "Oh, let me introduce you to our beta. He is Beta Robert," Sophia said, introducing Robert to her friends. Meanwhile, Brian was standing there without any expression. He was only watching Sophia as she had a conversation with them. "We plan to go to the club. Will you join us?" Nolan asked. Sophia was taken aback by the question. She came here for work. Though the meeting was over, she had no idea if Brian would let her go home or give her more work to do in the office. "No, I have some work," Robert interrupted her and said. "Yeah, she can. In fact, I think we all should go there together." Sophia's friends were shocked. Sophia's eyes widened in reaction. Brian slowly turned his head toward Robert while arching his brows. He laughed at everyone's gaze. Come on, I know I am an official. That doesn't mean you have to always be afraid of me. I sometimes like to live like ordinary people, you know? Sarah nodded her head and locked Sophia's arm with hers. Yes, yes, Beta Robert is right. Let's go together. We will have fun. Nolan gave her a glance when she agreed with it. She raised a brow to signal him that they had no other option than this. Sophia looked at Brian, who did not look okay with it. Alpha, if you have work, you can leave. It's okay, she said politely. Brian gazed at her, and then his eyes roamed around the other three people. No problem. Let's go. Saying that, he headed to the exit. Yes! Sarah cheered out but paused when he realized Robert was also there. Robert put his hand around Nolan's neck, who felt uncomfortable. A sense of fear rushed inside him. Don't worry, young boy. I won't eat you or your girlfriend. He was stunned. How do you know that she is my girlfriend? Robert chuckled and started to walk with him. He shifted his gaze to Brian and muttered, It's been a while since I became a beta. I have eyes to notice around me. Sarah told Sophia to go to the club with Brian, since she would have to go there on Nolan's bike. Every one of them made their way to the club. Sophia continued to cast her gaze in Brian's direction. He did not seem to like the idea. She presumed that the only reason he was going was because of Robert. At the time that they arrived at the club, all five of them went in together. Sarah and Nolan were the first ones to enter the club. Robert followed them. Meanwhile, Sophia and Brian walked behind them. They dispersed as they made their way to the launch area, moving through the crowd on their way there. Sophia looked around and noticed that the boys she was passing looked at her with lustful eyes. She lowered her head as she began to feel uncomfortable. A boy approached her and came dangerously close to touching her face. At that time, a palm pressed on his face as she heard a deep voice speak out from behind her. She is with me, so fuck off. The boy took a step back when he realized who was in front of him. The aura that the man in front of him was holding was really powerful. It was impossible for him to avoid experiencing fear. Upon turning her head, Sophia noticed that Brian was giving the boy a stern look. He looked angry, as if the boy had offended him. The moment Brian removed his hand from the boy's face, he fled from the dread that he was feeling. On the other hand, Sophia was staring at Brian. She felt a shove from the side, which made her body press against Brian. He looked at her with narrowed eyes. She looked away and tried to move. But Brian grabbed her waist and began to pull her along with him to the area where her friends were headed. Her mind was completely blown by his touch. The combination of the loud music and his touch caused her body to start feeling strange. She continued to look at him until he brought her to the lounge area in a more secure manner. As soon as Brian removed his hand from her waist, she discovered herself there. She averted her gaze and walked to sit next to Sarah on the couch. Brian made his way to get a seat next to Robert. When Sophia was talking with her friends, she couldn't help but glance over at him. Sarah raised her glass and said, "Let's have a drink." "No, I can't." "Have you forgotten what happened to me last time?" Sophia asked her. "That time Alpha sent you to my home, and this time he is here with us. So why not?" Sarah asked. Her voice was loud enough to reach Brian's ears. Sophia bit her bottom lip when she noticed Brian chugging down his drink in one go. It was like he was not drinking alcohol, but a glass of water. Robert began to talk to him about something, and both of them went busy with their own conversation. Sophia started to feel bored and thought that one drink would not hurt her. She reached for one of the glasses and sipped from it. Sarah and Nolan went to the dance floor to enjoy themselves. They asked Sophia to go with them, but she rejected them. She could not dance when Brian was there. Her mind began to feel dull as she started to drink more glasses. Robert got a call and said to Brian, "I have to leave right now. Take care of her." Brian glared at him. He knew the reason for Robert's decision to come here. He was doing the same thing he had done months ago. "Bye, Sophia," Robert said to her. She smiled at him. Alcohol was slowly lifting up in her head. "Bye-bye, Beta Robert. Take care of yourself. You can't believe in anyone you know. I mean anyone," he said to her, then winked at Brian. Brian rolled his eyes as he did not like the conspiracy his best friend was trying to do against him. But why are you leaving? You are so handsome. You can have any company here, Sophia said. She had no idea what she was saying. As soon as she realized what she had just uttered, her eyes widened in surprise. After turning her head, she noticed that Brian was looking at her. She covered her mouth with her palm and murmured behind it, "I'm sorry." Robert laughed at her reaction. "You are right. But right now, someone else needs company. Will you accompany him?" he asked her while pointing his finger at Brian. Sophia nodded her head and stood up. She moved to Brian's couch and sat beside him. Robert gave Sophia a thumbs up and left the club. Brian was glaring at Robert's back until he exited the club. "I am sorry. I am not drunk. I just drink a little bit," Sophia said to him. She did not lose consciousness. It was just her mouth that was out of control. "Keep your mouth shut," Brian muttered as he reached for another glass, which was placed on the tiny table close to the couch. By the time he was able to reach the glass, Sophia had already snatched it and gulped it down. Brian grabbed her arm and said, "You are not even capable of withstanding the load of beer. How will you deal with the effects of that wine?" Sophia chuckled at him. Her mind began to mess with her. It swirled around, just like the DJ light was moving on the dance floor. "Sophia, come, dance with us." Sarah came to her and started to pull her hand. Then she glanced at Brian and felt frightened to ask him to dance with Sophia. Sophia gave Sarah a nod and turned her head to Brian. "Give me 5 minutes. I will return to accompany you again." Brian did not stop her and let her do what she wanted. Sarah led Sophia to the dance floor. Sophia began to dance on the floor, but the smell of her mate made her mentality go crazy. Under the influence of alcohol, she started to dance like a crazy woman. As if there were no one around her, she moved her hips carelessly. A boy came to dance with her. She did not oppose it and began to dance with him. She realized that it was one of Nolan's friends. The fact that Brian's dark eyes were fixated on them was something that she was completely unaware of. While watching her on the dance floor, Brian continued to drink a few more glasses of alcohol. His eyes moved to the boy's hand. He was touching Sophia's waist and moving his hand up and down. Brian's blood boiled as he got to his feet and walked to her. He grabbed her hand and pulled her toward him. His sudden action astounded her, but the drunken state did not let her think sensibly. She gave him a warm grin and wrapped her hands around his neck. "Will you dance with me, Alpha?" Brian held Sophia's hands to move them from his neck, but Sophia tightened her hands and asked, "Why are you so arrogant? What will hurt you if you dance with me?" The smell of alcohol came out of her mouth. Brian looked into her eyes and saw they had turned cloudy. He turned to the boy who was dancing with Sophia earlier. Sarah pulled the boy's hand while he was asking her what was going on. "Sorry, Alpha. Please keep going," Sarah said, moving towards the other side of the dance floor with Nolan and his friend. Nolan frowned at her. "What are you doing?" he asked Sarah. "Can't you see? Alpha Brian is with Sophia right now. We should give them some space." Nolan's friend was confused about what was going on and why Brian came to Sophia suddenly. Sarah made an excuse and managed to get another girl to dance with Nolan's friend. Nolan glanced at Sophia and Brian. Sarah pulled him close to her and pecked his lips. "Baby, I know you care for her. Believe me, I care for her more than you. But her mate is with her. We don't need to worry about her anymore. We should not go to them. Just let them spend some time together." "What if he hurt her?" "No mate can hurt their mate. He won't." After Sarah's assurance, Nolan gave her a nod and went away from the couple. He then pulled his mate into a deep kiss and began to enjoy his time with her. Meanwhile, Brian was scolding Sophia in his head. Why did she even drink when she could not handle herself? He got mad when she called him arrogant. She said that last time too, when she was drunk. "You are not in your right mind. You should go home," Brian said to her. Upon hearing his remarks, Sophia chuckled. His eyes fell on her attractive smile. She appeared to be fragile and delicate. It was like anyone could break this girl at any moment if they went with her. After looking around, he discovered that men were looking at her. The fact that she was beautiful with a flawless body was something that he could not ignore, even if he wanted to. Almost everyone wanted her there. "I understand. You won't dance. Let me find another company for me." Sophia broke her hold around his neck and turned around. During the time that she was looking for someone, she turned her head to the left and right. She had no idea how drunk she was. The only thing she wanted was to dance. Both the music and the lights began to flicker as the DJ made a shift. It drove her completely crazy. As she observed the people dancing as if there were no tomorrows, she stared at them. Just as she prepared to approach them, an arm encircled her waist and compelled her to fall to her back, colliding with a rigid chest. She turned around and saw Brian looking at her. She took a step back and smiled at him. "Have you changed your mind? Will you dance with me?" He pulled her close to him. "You wanted to dance? Let's dance then." Sophia's face brightened. She wrapped her hands around his neck once more. She began to jump with the loud music and beats. She thought she was dreaming. Alpha Brian was dancing with her. He turned her around and drew her body against his front. As he placed his chin on her neck, she shut her eyes. At that moment, his nostrils were flooded with her scent. He found himself uncontrollable. She felt goosebumps all over her body, which did not go unnoticed by him. When she was moving her hips, his hands ran on her body under the flickering lights, where no one could see what other people were doing. His touches were like heaven to her. She let out a moan, and no one heard her except Brian. His eyes turned red for a second, but he controlled his wolf. He felt himself tighten inside his pants, which made him grab her firmly. "Stop playing with my mind, Sophia," he said in her ear as his lips brushed against it. Sophia gasped when she felt he bit her earlobe. She turned around and looked into his eyes, which had now returned to black. She no longer appeared to be smiling on her face. She looked emotional. There was a wrinkle in Brian's brow. He was under the impression that she did not enjoy his physical contact. He realized what he was doing. He felt that he had lost his mind a few seconds ago. He hated himself for losing control in front of her. When he was ready to walk away from her, she wrapped her arms around his torso without uttering a single word. He did not know what had just happened to her. "I will drop you home. You don't look good to me," Brian said, pulling her away from him. She shook her head. No, carry me in your arms. I can't walk." He frowned at her. "You were dancing a while ago and are now saying that you can't walk." Suddenly, she began to act as if she were crying. The other people around her glanced at them. Brian sighed and lifted her into his arms. As he looked around the dance floor, he could not find her friends. "Your friends are very careless. They did the same last time." "What did they do? Don't say anything about them." Brian scoffed at her and headed to the entrance of the club. "They left you all alone with another man. They don't have any concern for you." Sophia hugged his neck and muttered with a chuckle. "They care for me. They didn't leave me with another man, but with my mate." Once Brian emerged from the club, his steps came to a complete standstill. He looked at her and asked, "Did you tell them about it?" She nodded her head and smiled at him while closing her eyes. "They know who you are to me. You are my man, my alpha." Brian stared at Sophia's face for a while. As soon as his driver saw his alpha walking out of the club, he drove his car in the direction of him. The fact that Alpha Brian was holding a girl who was hugging him around the neck surprised him. He immediately opened the back door for Brian. First, Brian positioned Sophia on the back seat, and then he moved to sit next to her. The driver started the car and asked Brian, "Alpha, where do you want to go?" Brian gave Sophia a brief glance. Despite the fact that her eyes were closed, she was able to hear them. "Please don't take me home. I'm going to get in trouble with my mother for drinking," she mumbled while shaking her head. The driver cocked his head to the side in order to glance at Sophia. It was obvious to him that she was not sober. After having a clear view of her, he was able to recognize that she was Brian's personal secretary. "To my house," Brian said to him. The driver appeared to be in a state of shock. In spite of this, he started the car right away and drove straight to the villa where Brian was staying. Sophia was feeling uncomfortable in the seat. Brian was staring at her. He had a feeling he should scold her for discussing the mate bond with his friends. Nevertheless, her delicate face prevented him from scolding her. Sophia suddenly stepped closer to him and placed her head on his chest. She did this without any indication. Her eyes were closed as she hugged him. "I want to sleep here. You are so warm. You smell so nice. My wolf likes everything about you, she mumbled in a lower tone. Brian looked at her face. As his gaze traveled to her hands, which were embracing him in a protective manner, it seemed as though if he were to remove them, she would lose all hope of continuing to live. Neither did he give her a hug in return, nor did he attempt to pull her away from him. After turning around, he looked out the window at the outside world. No one was able to understand what was going on inside of his head. He was impossible to read. Every single stride that he took was unpredictable. After 1.5 hours, the car came to a halt in front of a lavish villa. The driver got out of the car and opened the door to assist him. Brian removed Sophia's hands from around him and got out of the car. He glanced at her and noticed that she was asleep. He bent down and held her in his arms, then carried her inside his house. The driver stared at him and thought, I have never seen Alpha carry another woman. Who is she to him? Brian went to a bedroom and laid her on the bed. He saw her clothes being lifted up, and his eyes were able to see her bare legs as well as her thighs that were exposed. Taking his gaze away from her, he drew the blanket closer to her body to cover her. When he decided to leave her side, leaving her alone in the room, she grabbed his wrist and pulled him down. The abruptness of her move left him speechless. It made him bend over her. She mumbled something. He sat on the edge and attempted to comprehend what she was saying. Brian, why are you so rude? Can't you see how much I want to be with you? When Sophia opened her eyes, she saw that she was lying on a bed in a room that she had never been in before. She sat up and looked around. Despite her best efforts, she was unable to identify the room in which she was sitting. The bedroom was so enormous that it was 3 times larger than her own bedroom. Her eyes immediately went to her body inside the blanket. Upon discovering that she was dressed in full clothes, she had a sense of relief. Why did I drink last night? Who brought me here? She pulled her hair in anger. She was mad at herself. Did someone kidnap me? She took a deep breath and proceeded to the closed door. At the very instant that she made contact with the doorknob, someone from the outside opened it. She was startled. She took a step back. A lady of middle age entered the room with a soft smile. Good morning to you. I brought your dress with me, she said as she handed her a bag. Sophia looked inside the bag and recognized it. The dress was one of the clothes that Brian bought for her while they were in the showroom. Where am I? She asked the lady. You are Alpha Brian's house, she responded with a courteous smile. The look of surprise spread across Sophia's eyes, but the realization that she had not been kidnapped last night brought her a sense of calm and relief. So am I in the pack house right now? Not at all. It is Alpha's own residence. He stays here and only goes to the pack house on occasion. Sophia was surprised to hear that. He did not live in the pack house. He has his own house. She recalled Brian's words. She indeed did not know much about him. Thank you for the dress. It's okay. It was inside Alpha's car. Not from among those, I have merely selected one to bring to you. Where is he? I asked her about Brian. He is in the dining room. He ordered me to wake you up. Since you are already awake, please take a moment to refresh yourself and make your way to the dining room. Alpha is waiting for you. After informing her of that, she left the room. Sophia did not move for a while as she tried to remember everything about last night. She pushed her thoughts out of her mind and entered the bathroom to take a quick shower. She put on the lemon-colored dress that the lady had brought for her. She wiped her hair and thought about letting it dry in the air. She could not afford to make Brian wait for her, so she hurriedly left the room and went downstairs. She asked another maid about the dining room. While making her way to the dining room, she noticed the gloriousness of the house. It was not an ancient palace like the pack house, but it was a dream house in modern times. She stepped into the dining room. Her legs froze the moment her eyes landed on the man in a black suit reading news on a tab. A maid was serving coffee to him and bowed to him, then left the room. Brian lifted his gaze from the tab and shifted it to Sophia. He gave her a signal to sit down on the chair that was located to his right. Sophia nodded her head and walked to the chair close to him. She slowly sat on the chair with a nervous look. She had no idea what had happened last night. She tried to recall but was unable to remember much. Brian moved a platter closer to her and said, "Eat." Sophia gave the table a quick glance. It appeared to be stuffed with a variety of foods for breakfast. There were already 2 platters arranged with food on them. Brian gave one of them to her. "What happened to him today? Why is he behaving so well with me?" With a look of bewilderment on her face, she thought and then touched the knife and the fork. She froze when he spoke out. "What's causing your confusion? Didn't you express last night that I always behave rudely towards you?" Sophia was shocked. Did she tell him that last night? Her jaw dropped in surprise when she recalled a few moments. How did she enter this house? Did he carry her to this house? Brian placed his finger under her chin and closed her mouth. "Your jaw will drop to the floor." His touch made Sophia realize what they had done on the dance floor. She almost let out a loud gasp, but since he had not moved his finger from her chin, she froze. Brian moved his finger away from her chin and said, "Eat. You didn't have dinner last night." Sophia lowered her head. She blinked her eyes a few times to understand the reality. "Am I still dreaming?" she asked herself. When she heard the sound of cutlery brushing against a plate, she glanced at Brian. He started to eat. Seeing that, she immediately started eating. She did not want to offend him in any way. While eating, she kept glancing at him. The way he moved the knife with his long and attractive fingers, the way he lifted the fork and put it inside his mouth, she was lost in his charms. Brian caught her gaze. She looked away from him and tried to concentrate on eating. However, the memories of last night were reflected in her head. She cursed herself for remembering everything in front of him. It was hard to control her expression. After having breakfast, Sophia stood up and said, "I am leaving, Alpha. I have to go to my university." He gave her a nod, permitting her to leave. Sophia turned around and walked out of the dining room. There was a blush on her cheeks. The way Brian had started to treat her was so new to her. He talked to her so softly today. As she walked to the living room while heading to the main door, she patted her cheeks. Calm down, but she could not stop her heart from beating faster. She recalled how she wrapped her hands around his neck and how she asked him to lift her into his arms. Why did I do that? What if he thinks that I am desperate, she thought, feeling embarrassed. Nevertheless, he was behaving well with her after last night, so she could not blame her actions. "Are you leaving?" she heard someone's voice. She turned around and saw the middle-aged lady. "Yes," she replied with a polite smile. "Here is your phone. You forgot to take it from the room." She handed her phone. Sophia realized that she had to contact her mother. She immediately unlocked the phone and saw that there were no missed calls. She was stunned by it. She thought her mother was worried about her. Did someone call her mother and inform her about her? "Thank you," Sophia said to the lady. "Come here again," the lady said with a bright grin. Sophia could not understand the reason behind her grin, but she nodded her head and left Brian's house. She walked past Brian's car, which was parked outside the house. The driver glanced at her. She noticed that he was giving her a strange look. She ignored him and walked down the street. She took a cab and decided to go to her university directly. On the way, she called her mother. "Mom, good morning, my baby." Sophia was surprised. Her mother was talking so well to her. What she thought was that she would scold her for last night. "Good morning. Did you and Sarah enjoy your girls' night?" Sophia realized that Sarah had saved her. "Yes, Mom." "Where are you? Aren't you coming home?" "No, Mom. I'm going to the university directly. I will return at night. I am sorry for last night. I should not have." "It's okay, my baby. You have to enjoy your life with your friends besides your studies and work. At your age, you are doing so many things. You also have the right to live like a cheerful girl." "Thank you, Mom." After talking with her mother, Sophia felt relaxed. When she arrived at the university, everyone was glancing at her. She tried to understand their gazes. Then she realized that they were looking at her branded clothes and shoes. Sophia shook her head to discard their gazes and walked to the campus. She met her friends, and they looked delighted. "How was last night?" Sarah whispered while hugging her when the two friends were alone. Sophia got the meaning of her question. She broke the hug and blushed. "Nothing happened last night. It was just that I was too drunk. That's it." "What? How can that man have such great control over himself? If it were my mate, He would have. She paused and turned red as if a memory came to her mind. Something caught Sophia's attention. She noticed Sarah's dress shifted a little from her neck and it was showing a few red marks. They were hickeys. Sophia fixed Sarah's dress and cleared her throat. I understand. Sarah hit her arm lightly. Both of them laughed together. You know my relationship with my mate is not the same as yours, Sophia said. Sarah shook her head. Yeah, we all saw that last night. We saw how he pulled you closer to him to move the other boy away from you. You looked crazy in his love. I can assure you, he feels the same too. I saw the jealousy in his eyes, Sophia. Sophia reflected on last night once more. She began to memorize how his hands traced her body when she was dancing. Her heartbeat stopped when she recalled the feeling of his lips brushing against her ear and biting her earlobe. She felt a shiver around her spine. Did he tell you anything about his feelings? Sarah asked excitedly. No. Then make him. How? Sophia asked with confusion. Make him more jealous. It will help you without any doubt. Mates are very protective of their mates. He will not like it if you go close to anyone. He will make sure to draw you closer to him. No. I can't take a chance. I don't even know what he feels about me right now. Sarah sighed in disappointment. Will you listen to me for once? Sophia gave it some thought. What if Sarah was right? What if her and Brian's feelings were mutual? Would he tell her about it? Sophia accepted her idea and replied, Okay, I will think about it. After attending all the classes, Sophia wanted to go to her office. On the other hand, her friends requested that she join them for lunch. As a result, she agreed and joined them for lunch. During their meal, they discussed the presentations that they were going to give very soon. A notification appeared on Sophia's phone at that very moment. She saw a message pop up on the screen of her phone. Are you busy? She read the text. Sophia could not recognize the number. It was an unknown number. She looked around and found no one looking at her. Who are you? She asked in reply. Someone who likes you a lot. Sophia stared at her phone. Nolan noticed it and asked her about it. She showed the messages to Sarah and Nolan both. Call him, Sarah said. Sarah assumed that it was Brian who messaged Sophia with an unknown number, but she did not say that to Sophia. Sophia dialed the number, but no one received the call. She took her leave from her friends and left the university. When she walked to the bus stop, she got another message from that number. Where are you? I won't tell you. I don't talk with strangers, Sophia replied. But I am not a stranger to you. Sophia scoffed as she thought it was any random guy who texted her to gain her attention. She did not reply again and continued to wait for a bus. When she reached the company, everyone greeted her like usual. Their eyes landed on her clothes, and they looked amazed. Sophia felt that branding clothes were influencing people a lot. Some of them even recognized the brand and thought the CEO's secretary really got a high payment. That was why she could afford these clothes and shoes. Sophia made a cup of coffee and knocked on Brian's office door. She was feeling nervous. She assumed Brian would pretend like nothing happened between them last night. Those touches and words meant nothing to him, and he would again behave indifferently toward her. The moment she heard his voice, she opened the door and entered the office room. She saw Brian standing toward the window. He was smoking. His strong back could give anyone the impression that he was a mighty man. She walked to the desk. The sound of her heels hitting the floor could be heard in the silent room. She made her way to where his chair was and placed the cup on the desk. She stood behind him, a little far, and spoke out. Alpha, your coffee. He turned around, and her gaze met his. She averted his gaze and waited for him to say anything in response. Under his gaze, she was feeling shy. Despite the fact that he could act as if nothing special had occurred, she could not forget his touches. Check out all the projects of the River Moon Pack, he ordered, lifting his hand close to his mouth to breathe in the smoke of the cigarette. Sophia nodded her head and made her way to the door. Where are you going? Brian asked her. To my cabin. Didn't you tell me to check the information? She saw him looking at his laptop. Her eyes widened. Did he mean to check with his own laptop? Check it with my laptop. Are you sure? He gazed at her while exhaling the smoke from his mouth. Do you have any problem with it? She shook her head and replied, "No, but you can have a large number of hidden folders in which you store a great deal of information that no one should know about. If I hadn't trusted you, I would have never made you my personal secretary in the first place." Sophia parted her lips. Did he mean he let Lily check his laptop too? She could not stop herself and let out a lower tone. "Did you trust Lily like this?" He arched his brows, showing a dissatisfied look. "Are you and Lily the same?" She immediately looked away from him. She could not understand what he meant to say. Was he implying that he trusted her because she was his mate? Did he want to say that Lily did not have the place that she held? She shrugged her shoulders and strolled to the desk. She grabbed his laptop and went to sit on the opposite chair. It was unlocked, so she did not need to ask him for the passcode. She tried to find the folder for the River Moon pack. She contacted many people after tagging her email account and inquiring about all the projects of that pack company. She searched online about their success in the past few months and noted everything. She focused on the screen so much that she could not notice the man in front of her, leaning against the window and watching her intensely. "Alpha, got it. Our men sent us about that pack's agreement with every alliance." Sophia cheered up while looking at the emails that she had just received. Brian made his way towards her, but he walked past her and stood behind the chair she was sitting on. "We got all the information we needed," she said with a bright smile. Unexpectedly, she sensed him lowering himself towards the chair and moving close to her. Her heart raced as she felt his presence just behind her. His breath gently caressed her neck. She remained still. He gently placed his hands on either side of her on the desk. She gulped in the warmth that engulfed her. He moved his right hand to press the keyboard to check the emails one by one. It caused his hand to brush against her arm. Her cheeks turned red at the touch. "I see. You did a great job," he muttered in her ear. She blinked her eyes as she was nervous and tried to calm herself. She gasped when his nose brushed against her ear, and he said, "I must give you a reward." "Reward?" Sophia was confused by his words. On the other hand, his touch was driving her mind crazy. "Yeah, you deserve a reward," he muttered. She could not help but twist her chair to move to the other side. However, Brian grabbed the handrest and turned the chair to make her face him. She was shocked. She gulped when she found his face close to hers. "Alpha, I don't need any reward." His eyes scrutinized her expression. Her cheeks turned red. Her eyes were avoiding his gaze. "Where is the confidence you were showing me last night?" Sophia looked at him. Her attention was drawn to his handsome face. His sharp jaw was stunning and attractive. Suddenly, Sophia wanted to caress her fingers over his jawline. But when she realized what she was thinking, she shook her head. No, Sophia mumbled while looking away from him. He frowned while looking at her. "No? What no? You don't want any reward or—" He paused. She thought he would move away from her, but she was so wrong. He leaned forward in her ear and asked, "Or do you only get your confidence when you are drunk?" She bit my bottom lip to control her heart, which started racing. Brian's scent was moving her heart. It was like an addiction. She almost closed her eyes and sniffed his neck. Alpha, what happened to you?" "Why? Didn't you want me to behave well with you? I am trying to fulfill my secretary's wish." Saying that, he brushed his lips on her earlobe. She almost moaned, but immediately pushed him and stood up from the chair. I think I have other things to do right now," she said, pushing the hair strands behind her ear. Brian stood straight and looked at her nervous expression. When she just took a step to go to the door, Brian stopped her. "Wait." Sophia turned to him. "Yes?" He walked to the side of the desk where his chair was and opened a drawer. He grabbed something from inside and closed the drawer. He returned to her. "Take it." Sophia looked at his hand. He was holding a bank card. He glanced at him and inquired, "What is it?" "Buy anything you want from it." She shook her head. "No, I can't take this from you." He reached for her hand and placed the card in her palm. "Return it to me after buying something for you. You can't deny it. It's a reward for your work." Sophia stared at the card. What would she buy from it? She did not want anything. He had already bought so many things for her. She did not want anything else. "So you were talking about this?" "No, I can't take it," she said, trying to return the card. He lowered himself to her level and peered at her nervous face as he observed her. Why? What did you think? What reward was I talking about? His voice was tempting her. Her wolf began to jump inside as he approached. She wanted him to remain with her. I am going to my cabin, Sophia said, hurriedly moving back to place the card on the desk and walking to the door. She opened the door and turned to glance at him. As he stood there, he looked at her intently. She left the cabin, closing the door behind her. During the time that she was walking by other employees, Sophia had a smile on her face that she carefully tried to hide. What happened to you, Sophia? Why are your cheeks red? Did you eat something allergic? A woman asked her. She patted her cheeks and felt them hot. She smiled at the woman awkwardly. Maybe, I don't know. She tried to make an excuse, but it was not caused by any allergies. She was blushing so much at how Brian was trying to get close to her. Do you need a checkup? No. Thanks for your concern, but I think I will be fine in a few minutes. Saying that, Sophia went to her cabin. She rushed to her chair and sat down. Was I dreaming? What has happened to Brian? He was acting like a whole different person. Sophia dropped her head on the desk and started to think about Brian. Was Sarah saying that right? Did Brian also like her? She covered her mouth in shock. She had never thought Brian would feel something for her or ever try to be near her. Hope was growing inside her to be with that man. What if he wanted to accept his fate and stay with his mate? Sophia made an effort to concentrate on her work. Work caused her to become quite busy. A tone of receiving a message came in from her phone just as the work hour was drawing to a close. She got a text from the earlier unknown number. Why are you running from reality? Don't you know concealing your feelings is a cowardly thing? Sophia was surprised. From whom was she hiding something? Who could be the person who sent her text again? She dismissed the thought of replying to the person and got to her feet to leave the office. She grabbed her backpack and walked out of her cabin. She did not want to be the last one returning home tonight. She was fortunate enough to have her mother allow her to spend last night outside. She wanted to thank her mother and hug her for a while. To have a mother like her was surely a blessing for her. During the time that Sophia was waiting for the elevator, she became aware of Brian coming in that direction. Taking a single look at him caused her to blush once again. Calm down, Sophia, she reminded herself. Brian walked over and stood next to her. The moment she looked at him, she noticed that he was gazing at her. What are you waiting for? He asked her. Sophia understood he was talking about entering the VIP elevator with him. Despite the fact that he had previously given her permission to use it, she did not utilize it without him. She felt like she was taking advantage of something other employees could not use. Together with him, Sophia stepped into the elevator. They remained silent as they stood there. Nobody let out anything that could have broken it. As they exited the elevator and made their way outside, Sophia bowed her head to him and uttered, "Goodbye, Alpha." Sophia turned around and headed in the direction of the bus stop. When she was getting close to the bus stop, a familiar car pulled up right next to her. She turned to the car and stopped her steps. It was then that Brian came into her line of sight when the window in the back seat rolled down. He looked at her and said, "Get in the car." Sophia was taken aback. In an effort to comprehend what he was indicating, she blinked her eyes. Did he want to talk about some business? She walked around the car and opened the back door. She sat down next to Brian and turned her attention to him. "Yes, Alpha?" His gaze was directed towards the driver, and he gave the order, "Start the car." When Sophia heard him, she frowned in response. "Where? Alpha, I need to go home. I am unable to put in extra hours today. Would it be possible for me to do the work tomorrow?" He looked at her. "Tell your address to him," he replied, pointing at his driver. As soon as she realized that he was going to drop her off at her house, her eyebrows went up in surprise. After giving the driver a look, she decided to give him her address. The driver turned the car to head in that direction. Neither Sophia nor Brian spoke for the course of the ride. In response to the fact that she could feel Brian's stare on her, Sophia bit her bottom lip. He did not make any kind of statement, and he did not take his gaze off of her. What on earth was going through his mind? A ringtone could be heard reverberating in the closed car. When Sophia realized that it was her phone, she opened her bag to take out her phone. When she saw that it was Troy who had called her, she received the call immediately. "Troy, how are you?" "Hi, Sophia. I am doing well. I was considering getting together with you today, but I was unable to make it to the upper level because I had too much work to do." "You wanted to meet me? You could have called me. Without a doubt, I would have made my way to your floor to meet you." With a chuckle, Troy remarked, "That is very kind of you. I wanted to have a conversation with you about something. Can we get together tomorrow if you are feeling okay?" "Of course. We can meet during the break time." "No, I want to meet after office hours. Can you spare some time?" After a little pause, Sophia inquired, "Of course. But is everything okay?" In her voice, there was a note of concern that could be heard. "Don't worry. Everything is all right. See you tomorrow." "Okay, bye. See you tomorrow." As time went on, Sophia started to speculate about the reasons why Troy wanted to meet with her. It was not like he just wanted to hang out. It was clearly about something important to him. She let out a sigh as she prayed that everything was okay with him. Just as she turned her head, she froze. Brian was staring at her. She gulped at his gaze. It was intense and unreadable. "You look close to Troy Reed," he murmured. She shook her head. "Not so close. But since our mothers are best friends, we became friends." "I see." When Sophia reflected on how Troy had trusted her despite the fact that everyone else had doubts about her, she smiled. "He is a highly admirable guy. I had never thought that he would be the one to put his faith in me when everyone else turned me down. He is really helpful and quite kind." The lines between Brian's brows deepened as he started tapping his finger on his phone and turned his gaze away from her. "Good. He supported you in your bad time," he muttered in a cold tone. The abruptness and icy tone of his voice left Sophia bewildered. Did she say or do something that made him angry? She tried to think about what she had said to him, but she could not find any fault in her replies. Suddenly, the idea that Sarah had put out came to her mind. While she was staring at him, she pondered, is he beginning to feel jealous? As she cocked her head to the side in order to get a better look at his face, a smile flashed across her face. When he turned his head and caught her gaze, she looked at him with wide eyes. Instantaneously, she retreated and slumped back against the seat she was seated in. "What?" he asked. "Nothing. I just wanted to see that side of the street, too." To make such a ridiculous excuse, Sophia bit her tongue in disbelief. Brian stared at her for a while, then averted his gaze from her. Sophia was feeling bored, so she tried to break the silence. "By the way, Alpha, why do you leave another house when everyone in your family lives in a pack house? Shouldn't head Alpha stay at the pack house?" The driver glanced at the rear mirror with a terrified look in his eyes, which did not go unnoticed by Sophia. She became anxious when she noticed that Brian did not respond to her. It was a very personal question. How could she ask that question? I am sorry if I crossed my line," she mumbled. "I like to live alone," Brian replied. Sophia was stunned. Did he just reply to her? The fact that he did not take offense at her was a source of relief for her. However, Sophia remained quiet for the next few minutes until the car reached her home. Sophia got out of the car and walked to the window on Brian's side. It came to her attention that the driver had exited the car and opened the trunk. He took out all the bags from it and stood beside her. She realized that she could not take out her clothing from Brian's car last night. "I can take this from here," Sophia said to the driver. "He will help you with it," Brian replied. She expressed her gratitude to him by bowing her head and saying, "Thank you, Alpha, for everything." Brian did not respond to her, which made her feel awkward. When she headed to the door of her house, the driver followed her behind. While opening the door with the keys, Sophia thought, what happened to him? Is he jealous, or is he mad at me? When Sophia entered her house, her mother walked to her. "Sophia," she halted as her gaze eventually landed on Brian's driver. "Who is he? And what's this?" "Mom, he is Alpha Brian's driver. He came to help me with my dresses," Sophia replied. A frown appeared on her mother's face. "Dresses?" "Yeah. I had to buy some clothes. Because I was required to attend meetings with Alpha, I could not wear the clothing that I normally wear to meetings." Sophia did not tell her mother that those clothes were from Brian. Her mother would ask so many questions if she learned about it, so she lied to her. The driver placed the bags on the couches in the living room and left the house. Sophia's mother peered out the window and inquired, "Is that Alpha's car?" "Yeah." "Did he come to drop you off?" The tone of her mother's voice conveyed a sense of surprise to Sophia. "Yes, Mom." "Then why didn't you ask him to come inside?" She was really taken aback. She should have asked him. Was that the reason why Brian did not reply to her? "You are such a fool, Sophia," she said to herself in her mind. "Sophia, Alpha is so thoughtful that he drove you back to your house. Why did you do that? It's not good manners. You should have asked him to come to our house." "I'll ask him if, someday, he drops me again." Sophie had her dinner with her mother. She said sorry to her mother for staying outside last night. Her mother said it was totally okay, and she knew how her daughter was. She could not do anything wrong. The next day, Sophia went to the university. During the time that she and Sarah were attending the same class together, she saw that she had received another message from an unknown number. "I don't understand why this person is messaging me," Sophia muttered while looking at the message. "I think it's your Brian Morrison. He is saying things that he is unable to say in person," Sarah whispered to her. A blush appeared on Sophia's face, as she also suspected that there was a connection between each and every word in the texts in her life. "I also think so." Sarah was wiggling her brows and asking, "How far have you two gone?" "What? Nowhere." "Have you two kids?" "Miss Sarah and Miss Sophia, do you both want detention?" Because the professor had observed them whispering to one another for a few minutes, he yelled at them. "Sorry, Professor," they both murmured in unison as they concentrated on their notes. After all the classes, Sophia was making her way to the bus stop. At that moment, a car came to a stop next to her. While she was looking at the expensive car, she couldn't help but think of Brian. Last night, he stopped the car beside her just like that. With a smile on her face, she shifted her attention to the rear glass. But instead of the back window, the window of the driver's seat rolled down. The sight of Bruce's face came into her line of sight. Just by glancing at him, her smile vanished completely. She looked away from him and started to walk ahead. Bruce got out of the car and walked to her. "Sophia." She paid him no attention and continued walking. He grabbed her hand and turned her around to face him. "What?" she asked in anger. He released his grip on her hand and scratched the nape of his neck. "I thought to drop you off at the company." "I don't need it. Thank you." Saying that, Sophie set out to walk once more. After noticing it, Bruce began to move closer to her. "Wait." Sophia sighed and asked, "Now what?" "Why are you in such a hurry?" "Because I am the personal secretary of the CEO. If I can't reach the office soon, who will take care of the CEO's schedule? So please excuse me." "No, wait." Sophia gave him a bored look. Bruce chuckled awkwardly. "Listen, whatever you just said is right. That's why I want to drop you. By this, you can reach there as soon as possible." Sophia glanced at his car. She realized that he had bought a new car. "Do you come here to show me that you bought a new and expensive car? Do you really think of me as a gold digger whose heart would melt by your car?" "What? No. What I really wanted was for you to be the first person to ride with me." It came as a surprise to Sophia. She then proceeded to clear her throat and said, "Bruce, please stop coming after me. We can't be a thing anymore. I have moved on. In fact..." She paused, then took a deep breath and continued, "I have someone in my life now. I can't think about my past anymore. I wish you happiness in your life. Whatever happens in our lives, forget it. Just don't cheat your future partner. That's all I can say." All that Sophia could think about at this moment was Brian. She had developed feelings for him. She had no choice but to forgive Bruce and release herself from the past, since she did not want to make the situation weirder than it already was. By doing so, everyone could be happy in their lives. Meanwhile, Bruce clenched his jaw and tightened his fists in anger. How was it possible for her to claim that she had moved on? Why was he unable to move on then? How could she say that she had someone else in her life? What about him? How could she leave him in this state? Didn't she make a promise to him that she would be by his side forever? His blood began to boil at the mere thought of her being with another person. He then yelled at her while looking at her back, which caused her to halt her steps. "Who's that? My big brother?" Sophia froze when she heard Bruce. Indeed, he was right. That person was his big brother. But Sophia decided to ignore his question and continued to walk. When she was waiting for a bus, she saw someone waving a hand at her out of the window of a car. She frowned and tried to look at the person. She was unable to determine who the person was because the car was parked on the opposite side of the street from where she was. She got a call. When she noticed it was Troy's call, she realized that the person who was waving at her was Troy. She received the call. "Hey, Troy. Hi, Sophia. Come here. I'm going to the office. We can go together." Sure, Troy was her friend, so she had no problem going with him. She strolled across the street and made her way to Troy's car. The moment she sat down next to him in the passenger seat, she greeted him with a, "Hi. What's up?" "Just good as usual." Troy started the car, and they headed to the company. Sophia thought about something and asked him, "Troy, you wanted to talk about something." "Yeah, I had the intention of meeting up with you after the office, but since we have met, let's talk about it." "Yeah, sure. Actually, today is my mother's birthday." Sophia smiled when she heard that. "Happy birthday to Aunt Sabrina. I need your help with it." "What kind of help?" "Mom will be out with your mom today, so I thought of giving her a surprise at home. Will you come to help me with it?" "Of course I'm in." During the ride, they discussed several concepts that they could use for decorating the living area of the house. He agreed to her ideas and asked if she had decorated a home before. "You look professional," Troy said, chuckling. "I always decorate my home for my mom's and my brother's birthdays." "I have never met Brother Abraham," Troy said. "He will return in a few months from the camp. Mom will introduce you to him. You will like his personality. He is an extraordinary man." "Without a doubt, he is. After all, he is the gamma of this pack." She felt proud when she heard that. To become the gamma, her brother had put all of his effort into it. When they reached their company, they walked in together. They entered the elevator as they were still conversing with one another. He left on his floor and she proceeded to the highest floor in the building. After making coffee for Brian, Sophia took it to Brian's office. "Alpha, your coffee." Brian did not look at her, as his focus was on the file he was holding in his hand. Sophia fixed her gaze on him. He had not yet touched the coffee cup, which made her feel strange. He always sipped his coffee the moment she placed it on his desk, but today, he did not do that. "Alpha, your coffee will turn cold." "You don't have to worry about it. Go back to your work," Brian replied to her in a cold tone. His chilly tone startled Sophia. He was fine yesterday. What happened to him suddenly? "Alpha?" He raised his head from the file and looked at her. "What?" Sophia felt a tremor within her as she looked into his dark eyes. Averting her gaze from him, she lowered her head in submission. "Okay, Alpha. I'm getting back to my work," she said softly, leaving his cabin. Sophia was really confused throughout the entire day. She had no idea what she had done last night that had caused him to feel such rage at her. Is he bipolar? Why does he always change his moods? Today, she got no other message from the unknown number, which made her believe that the person was surely Brian. Is he angry because I did not reply to him? She checked the inbox and read the last message that he had sent this morning. "Seeing you every day is like getting fresh air." Sophia blushed and replied to the message. "I don't know you, but I think you are someone close to me." She covered her face in embarrassment after sending it. She waited for a long time to get a reply, but surprisingly, Brian did not send her any messages again. She was upset and worked on some projects in her cabin. She would have to transmit some files to other employees that Brian had sent her via email. By the time Sophia left her cabin and made her way to Brian's office, it was already late in the evening. "Alpha, I'm leaving." Brian gave her a nod without looking at her. She did not know what her fault was. Her eyes swept over his phone, which appeared to be sitting unmoved on the desk. "Alpha, I believe that people ought to respond to the texts that they get. Don't you think so?" Brian frowned at her and asked, "What do you mean?" Nothing. I was just talking nonsense. Don't take me seriously." "Ha ha ha!" Sophia chuckled while scratching her head. When she turned around to leave the cabin, his voice spoke out from behind. Where were you today? She turned to him. What? I was in the cabin the whole day, Alpha. He gazed at her intensely, which caused her to gulp. Before coming to the office, where were you? His question astounded her. I was at my university. Then I make my way straight to the company. With whom? Oh, I came here with Troy. Brian arched his brows. Sophia assumed that he might have seen them arriving together. Actually, he was on the same way, so we came here together. Sophia tried to clear up any confusion in his head. She did not want him to misunderstand her. After rising from his seat, Brian reached for his suit jacket and rested it on his hand. Let's go, he said to her. Where? She asked with a surprised look. Aren't you leaving? I'll drop you. Sophia's eyes widened. Would he drop her again? But why? No, Alpha. I'm not going to my house right now. He glanced at his watch and asked, What do you mean? It's already late in the evening. During this hour, where do you plan on going? I will go to Troy's house with him. Her mother is not at home, so he invited me to. She was interrupted by her phone call. She saw it was Troy. She immediately received the call. I'm waiting for you outside. Troy spoke out the moment she received the call. Yeah, I am coming in a minute. Just wait for me. She replied and cut the call. She looked at Brian and said hurriedly, Alpha, I have to leave now. He is waiting for me. She bowed her head and rushed out of the cabin. She was in such a hurry to prevent her friend from waiting that she failed to look at the mighty man's face. His eyes turned red as his inner wolf growled inside him, repeating the same word over and over again when she was leaving. Mine. Sophia stepped outside the company and noticed Troy's car waiting for her. She made her way to his car and went to the passenger seat when she saw him sitting in the driver's seat. She opened the door and got inside. With a smile on her face, she turned her head toward him. I'm so sorry. You had to wait for me. Troy gave her a nod. It's okay. You are helping me. That's more than enough. After starting the car, Troy drove the car in the direction of his house. Sophia was excited. She was happy to do something for Troy's mother. She had been with her mother for a very long time. The most important thing that her mother needed was emotional support, and Troy's mother was able to give it to her as her best friend. When the car came close to a mall, Sophia glanced at it and spoke out. Stop the car near it. Troy was stunned. Do you want to go shopping? He asked, parking the car outside the shopping mall. Yes, but for your mother. Wait, what? Troy asked, amazement written in his face. Sophia got out of the car and Troy followed her. Sophia entered the shopping mall and asked Troy, What is Aunt Sabrina like? What should I give her? How would I know? What do you mean you don't know? Have you never given her a present? Troy scratched his neck and looked away from her. Usually, I give Mom my card. She always purchases what she likes. Wait a minute. Don't tell me you didn't get any presents for her birthday this year. No. That's why I asked you to help me. Sophia slapped her forehead and shook her head. You are so careless, buddy. Troy felt ashamed, which Sophia noticed clearly. She patted his shoulder. He slowly turned his head to glance at her hand. He smiled at her when she spoke to him again. No worries. Let me help you. Follow me. Troy noticed that Sophia was a cheerful girl who only spread positivity around her. She was quite bubbly, which she hid from others. If someone got close to her, only they could notice that. Sophia helped Troy buy a beautiful bracelet for his mother. Ma'am, this bracelet will suit you a lot, the saleswoman said to Sophia. Sophia parted her lips when she heard her. She shook her head. No, that's not for me. Troy held her hand and asked, You helped me a lot. Can I give you a present too? Sophia chuckled at him. You just learned to give other presents. That's why you want to give me one. But I can't take anything from you. It's your mother's birthday, not mine. Ah, how cute you two are. The saleswoman again spoke up. Sophia frowned at her. Was she flattering them so that they would purchase more from her store? She ignored that woman's words as her eyes fell on a necklace. So beautiful, she muttered. Troy glanced at it. How much is it? He asked the salesperson. $500,000, sir. Sophia's eyes widened when she heard the price. She immediately looked away from the necklace. How can a simple necklace have such a big price? That is not even heavy, she thought. Though Troy wanted to ask Sophia if she wanted it, the necklace was too pricey. He was a new worker who had not had that much money in his savings yet. Still, just as a sweet gesture, he asked, "Do you like that?" Sophia raised her brows and whispered to him, "Are you crazy? How can I like it? Didn't you hear the price? It will be a loss for me." Troy laughed at her words. He found her very cute. She was not adamant about getting the jewelry. Instead, she changed her choice because it was beyond her ability. She was not greedy at all. If someone were in her place, she would have said yes to him. Sophia picked up a small earring for her mother. She did not resist getting something for her mother. She had not given her anything as a present after getting paid. She knew if she asked her, she would refuse to buy anything. So she used her salary and bought a pair of beautiful earrings for her. After leaving the jewelry store, Sophia purchased a dress for Troy's mother, as it was the main reason to stop the car close to this mall. Later, they bought some props to decorate Troy's house and a small cake for the celebration. Troy asked her to have dinner in the food court since their mother would come to Troy's house after having their dinner. They left the shopping mall after dinner and got in the car to head to Troy's house. It took them an hour to reach there. When Sophia entered the house, she looked around it. "Nice home. Thank you, Sophia." She did not waste her time and placed the presents and the cake on the dining table, which was close to the living room. Then she began to decorate the living room with the props they had bought from the mall. Troy helped her while glancing at her. He felt that he had never met a girl like Sophia before. He realized that his mother was right. She once told him that he would never get a better girl than Sophia. His mother really liked her a lot and wanted her as her daughter-in-law. "How is it?" "Huh? Troy, where are you lost?" "I'm asking about the decoration," Sophia asked him. He nodded his head while looking around the living room. He realized that he was so lost in her that he could not notice anything. He chuckled lightly and replied, "Wonderful. Thank you so much, Sophia." At that time, someone entered the house, which made them turn to the door. When Sophia noticed it was Aunt Sabrina, she pushed Troy to greet her. "Happy birthday, Mom," Troy said with a cheerful voice. Sabrina was shocked when she saw the decorations in her house. A beautiful grin appeared on her face as she hugged her son. "Thank you, my son." Her eyes drew on Sophia, and the grin turned larger than before. Sophia hugged her and wished her a happy birthday. She gave her the birthday present, and Troy did the same. Sophia thought her mother would also come with Sabrina, but assumed that she might have wanted to give the mother and son some private time to celebrate. In spite of Sophia's desire to leave, Sabrina did not allow her to do so, and instead requested that she wait until she had finished cutting the cake. Sabrina asked Sophia's mother if she could go home late, to which she agreed without any reluctance. When it was time to cut the cake, Sophia got a call. She immediately received the call without noticing the number. "Hello?" she asked while smiling at Sabrina, who was holding the knife. But when she heard the person on the other end of the phone, her smile froze. "Come outside right now. I don't want you to remain in that house for a single second." The sound of Brian's voice caused Sophia's eyes to widen considerably. What shocked her more was what he had just said. "Is he outside?" she thought as she cast a glance out the window which offered a view of the road beyond. She was unable to locate any cars. "What happened, Sophia?" Troy asked her. "Huh?" Troy's voice pulled Sophia out of her thoughts. She turned to the mother and son and gave them an apologetic smile. "I am sorry. I can't stay here longer." They were taken aback. Sabrina shook her head in disagreement. "What? Why, my dear? I asked your mother's permission, and she is okay with it. If you are worried about going back home at this late hour, then you don't have to be concerned. Troy will drop you off at your home." After taking a quick check at the clock, Sophia became aware that it was 20 minutes until midnight. It was hard for her to accept that time had flown by so quickly that she was unable to keep track of it. "Yes, Mom is right." "No, that's not the case." A message on her phone interrupted her. She read it with a shaken heart. "Don't you understand what a second means? Don't make me wait or I will come into his house." She took a deep breath and looked at Troy. "Alpha is outside." "Wait, what? Why is he here?" Troy asked, making his way toward the door. "I have to leave." He sounded very angry. I don't know what's on his mind. Troy's legs froze when he heard Brian was angry. He turned around and asked Sophia, "Angry? Why?" "I think it's about some work. He is a workaholic, man. Maybe he needs me for some paperwork. I have to leave right now." Sabrina stared at Sophia with sad eyes. Sophia hugged her and said, "I'm sorry that I could not stay here with you, but I think it's your time with your son only. Celebrate with him." Sabrina nodded at her with a warm smile and patted her back. "Thanks, Sophia." Sophia hurriedly dashed out of the house because she had already spent more than 2 minutes there, even after getting Brian's message. She turned her head left and right but could not find Brian's car. She decided to call Brian, so she pulled her phone out of her bag. When she was about to give him a call, a car came to a stop beside her. She was surprised by the sudden appearance of the familiar car. Before she could move her hand to the back door, the front door opened. Was he so mad at her that he did not want to let her sit beside him? With a trail of thoughts, she grabbed the door and got in the passenger seat. The moment she closed the door and turned her head, she gasped. Brian was sitting in the driver's seat. Where was his driver? Why was he driving his car today? She gulped when she noticed him looking at the road in front of him. The expression on his face became more ferocious, as if the instant he turned to her, she would pass away. She carefully turned her gaze away from him, tucked her phone into her bag, and then sat there in silence, saying nothing. She did not utter a single word. Brian's rage was completely beyond her comprehension. Did she make any mistakes in any project? But she could not remember anything since he had checked everything. "Al Alpha?" she mumbled to break the silence as she glanced at him. Brian started the car without replying to her. It was a struggle for her to calm the anxiety that was raging through her head. The car passed a few routes. Sophia was unmoved, as she was feeling nervous. She inhaled and turned her head toward him with some courage. "Alpha, what's wrong? Did I do something?" Brian parked the car on the side of the road, where there was no one else. He turned to her and asked, "What were you doing in his house?" As soon as she heard his icy tone, Sophia briefly blinked her eyes. Chills ran down her spine at his deep voice. I was. She could not finish speaking as her phone started to ring. She thought it was her mother, so she opened her bag to take out her phone. Her hand was shaking as she had not processed her mind from Brian's cold tone. While retrieving her phone, a small red velvet box fell from her bag and landed in the car. Sophia could not receive the call since it stopped ringing, so she bent down to take the box first. She opened the box to check on the condition of her mother's earrings and also to make sure they were not broken. She was relieved when she found it totally fine. After closing the box, she put it inside her bag. Meanwhile, Brian was watching her every movement. When his eyes fell on the diamond earrings, which looked brand new, his eyes shone with hostility. "So just for this cheap thing, you slept with my directing manager?" He spoke out with every bitterness he was feeling inside him. Sophia's hand froze when she heard that. She turned to him and asked, "What?" He glared at her. "How can you be so cheap, Sophia Berge? Don't dare lie to me. You slept with that man, didn't you? Otherwise, why would you stay at his home this long when his mother is not at his home?" "How disgusting," he roared, which flinched her body. As she listened to his harsh words, tears began to well up inside her eyes. How could he possibly have such a thought? She shook her head and said, "I didn't. Stop acting like an innocent girl." She bit her lower lip to prevent her tears from falling. He was accusing her of such a disgusting thing. It was about her character. How could he do that? "I can't believe I trust a girl like you," Brian muttered as he tightened his fingers around the steering wheel. At that time, Sophia's phone started to ring once again. It was difficult for her to hold back her tears, so she did not pick up the phone when it rang. Brian glanced at the screen of her phone and noticed it was Troy. His blood boiled as he yelled at her in anger. "What are you waiting for? Receive the call." Her body jerked up at his yell. Brian snatched the phone from her hand and muttered, "Let's crack your innocent act." He received the call and put it on the loudspeaker. "Hello, Sophia?" Sophia did not let out anything when she heard Troy's voice. She was trying to control her sobs. "I just wanted to thank you, Sophia. Mom is really happy with how you decorated our home for her birthday. She liked your present too." I hope your mom will also like the earrings that you bought for her." This time she could stop her tears as they rolled down her cheeks. "Hello, Sophia? Are you listening to me?" Sophia grabbed the phone from Brian's hand and cleared her throat. "Have a good time with Mom." Saying that, she cut the call and opened the door beside her. On the other hand, Brian was shocked by Troy's words. When he saw Sophia leaving his car, he could not help but curse himself for misunderstanding the whole situation. "Fuck!" Sophia started to walk ahead. She was crying. She was unable to believe the fact that Brian thought about her like that. It was clear that she had developed feelings for him, and she made every effort to improve her performance as a secretary for him. Last time, he accused her of revealing his project to another pack, and then he fired her to demonstrate her as a traitor in front of his whole company. But what did he do today? He made the accusation that she was a girl without any morals who could have slept with anyone over the course of something. Sophia. She heard Brian's voice behind her. She turned her head and saw his car moving towards her and stopping beside her. Brian rolled down the car's window and said, "Get in the car." She shook her head. I don't want to go with you." She turned her head and began to walk again. Brinna clenched his jaw. How could he say those things to her? She was only helping that man to celebrate his mother's birthday. He came to the realization that both of them had told him that they were family, friends. Troy's mother was her mother's close friend. How could it not come to his mind? Since the beginning of the day, he had been angry with her, since he had witnessed her and Troy arrive at the office together. He was able to watch that from the window of his office room that he had. This was the reason for his anger. Nevertheless, his fury subsided when she explained to him that he was just offering her a ride at that moment. However, when she ignored him and left with Troy, he could not take it anymore. He assumed many things and sent his men to follow Sophia, which she could not notice. When his men told him that Sophia did not leave Troy's house even though it was so late, he was fuming in anger. He did not wait for anything and went to Troy's house directly. He called her and told her to come outside. When she did not come, he texted her in anger. "Sophia, don't be stubborn. Get in the car," he said when he heard her words. She completely ignored him and walked past his car. At this hour, Sophia knew she would not get a cab to go back home, but she would never take any help from Brian. He hurt her. She was upset with him. Suddenly, she heard the sound of the door closing. She did not stop her steps as she kept walking. She felt a hand grab her wrist and make her turn around. Brian was looking at her. She averted her gaze from him and pouted her lips in anger. "Where are you going?" he asked her. "Anywhere but not with you," she mumbled with an enraged tone. "Come with me. I'll drive you to your home." "No need," she said, yanking her hand out of his grip. When she began to walk again, he spoke out behind her. "If you won't come with me, I will make you do that." "Do whatever you want," Sophia replied, moving her steps forward. However, the next moment, her body lifted into the air. She gasped when Brian held her in his arms. She immediately wrapped her arms around his neck in fear of falling down. She gazed at him. He did not look at her and turned around to head back to his car. Sophia was too shocked to say anything to him. So when he opened the door to make her sit in the passenger seat, she said, "I don't want your ride." Brian shut the door and went to sit in the driver's seat. He turned his head toward her and noticed that she was crying. "Don't cry." She turned her head to the window so that he could not see her face and wiped her tears. Brian inhaled deeply and mumbled, "Look, you thought that I had slept with him in exchange for a pair of earrings. Yeah, I know." Sophia cut him in while staring at the road through the window. Brian was silent. She did not care if he got mad at her for interrupting him. Unexpectedly, she felt him getting closer to her. She turned her head and immediately leaned her head back against the seat when she found his face close to her. He moved his hand while looking into her eyes. Her heart started to race at the closeness. She shut her eyes as soon as she realized that he was leaning closer to her. A light noise startled her, and when she opened her eyes, she saw that he was fastening her seatbelt. She blushed when she realized what she was thinking before closing her eyes. How stupid she was. How could Brian do something like that to her? Suddenly, Brian lifted his hand, which took her by surprise. He brushed his thumb on her cheek to wipe her tears. Sophia's heart skipped a beat. She looked at him. "I'm sorry, don't cry," he muttered under his breath, which touched her face. Sophia was shocked by his words. She was also shocked like that when he apologized to her in the washroom of the restaurant after healing her. Except for her, she had never witnessed him saying sorry to anyone else. When she thought about it, Sarah's remarks returned to her mind. "I think he can say sorry to only his woman." She averted her gaze from him. A sorry could not mend everything. His words and behavior were hurtful for her a while ago, which she could not remove from her mind in a few seconds. His touch on her cheeks caused her to feel blissful. However, she did not show it through her face. "I shouldn't have said those things to you. I was just mad." She glanced at him and said, "You don't have to explain anything, Alpha. I know what you think of me, a girl who cheated your brother, a girl who can betray your company anytime, a girl who can slee." Brian pressed his lips into hers, stopping her from speaking further. Sophia was shocked as her eyes widened. Her heart raced as his lips met hers. Brian was kissing her. As soon as he began to move his lips on hers, all of her anger vanished in an instant. She had never before experienced feelings like these. She appeared to be in heaven at that moment. She yearned for him to touch her from the bottom of her being. She saw him looking directly into her eyes while kissing her. She immediately closed her eyes and stayed unmoved. Brian moved his hand from her cheek to behind her ear and grabbed the back of her neck. He tilted her head and kissed her deeply. With a passionate kiss, he savored her and seemed to cherish the moment as if time had stopped moving away from him. His lips gently brushed against hers and then began to suck on them. Their lips met in an electric movement. His kiss tasted like an unspoken confession. He tasted like moonlight and desire. Her heart was pounding in rhythm with his. Meanwhile, he was lost in kissing her. Her lips were soft, as if he were biting into cotton candy. For him, it was too sweet to bear. Sophia let out a moan when he nibbled her bottom lip. It was almost impossible for him to control the desire that had been locked inside him for a very long time. His inner beast groaned inside to come out and hover over her. Sophia started to feel breathless, but it did not stop him from continuing the kiss. She lifted her hands and patted his chest to break the kiss. He broke the kiss and looked at her intensely. She opened her eyes and gasped for air. She blushed hard when she saw him staring at her. After he had released her from her neck, he stroked his thumb to wipe her lips. She closed her eyes when she felt his thumb brushing over her wet lips. After a few seconds, she felt him move back to his seat. Sophia opened her eyes and turned her head to sheepishly look at him as soon as she felt the car begin to move. "What has just happened? He kissed me. Brian Morrison kissed me. My mate kissed me." She thought as her mind was swirling by thinking about the kiss. The fact that their mates were getting closer to them made her wolf extremely pleased. Sophia lacked the ability to suppress the sensations that were brewing inside of her. Brian did not look at her during the whole ride. Sophia did not ask anything either. There was complete silence throughout the entire ride. The car stopped in front of Sophia's house. Instead of opening the door and getting out of the car, Sophia sat there quietly, thinking about the meaning of the kiss. Brian turned his head toward her, which made her gulp. She lowered her head and began to play with her fingers. "I'm sorry for what I said to you earlier," he said, as if making sure to break her anger. She looked at him, finding him looking at her calmly. "Alpha, you kiss!" She could let out any more in shyness. He looked away from her and replied, "You were talking too much that time. If you talk like that again, then you know I can stop you again," he replied, then turned his gaze at her once again. His words were making her cheeks flush. What did he mean? Did he mean that he would kiss her again? Her lips parted, and her eyes widened at the thought. He licked his lips with his tongue as his gaze landed on her parted lips. Sophia averted her gaze from him shyly. She opened the door and said, "Bye, Alpha. Bye." Hearing him, she wanted to turn around and hug him for once to see how she would feel. But she ignored her desire and got out of the car. When she closed the door, she recalled her mother's words. She walked to his side and bent down to the window, then knocked on it. Brian rolled down the window and turned to look at her. Alpha, Mom said to ask you to come inside if you drop me again. Another time, he replied with his deep voice. She gave him a nod. Bye then. He responded without moving his gaze away from her. It was impossible for her to break eye contact as she kept staring at his mysterious eyes. Sophia? She heard her mother's voice coming from her house. Brian raised his brow and signaled her behind her back. She stood up straight and cleared her throat. She turned around and rushed to the house in embarrassment. Mom. Her mother was standing at the door. Sophia noticed her peeking from there and trying to look at the person inside the car. But the moment she entered the house, the car drove away from there. Mom, Alpha dropped me off today, Sophia muttered as she walked inside. I know. She turned to her mother. How? Her mother closed the door and replied, Troy informed me not to worry. Oh. Her mother saw that she appeared to be lost. She walked to her and held her hand. What are you thinking? Have you asked him to come inside? Nothing, Mom. And yes, I did. He said another day. Her mother nodded her head. That's a relief that you asked him. It is up to him to decide whether he will accept it or not, but as members of his pack, we should show respect to him. Sophia recalled that she had bought something for her mother. She took it out of her bag and handed her the box. What's this? Check it. She smiled when her mother opened the box and looked at the diamond earrings. You didn't have to, my dear. You are my child. I should give you gifts, her mother said with teary eyes. She hugged her mother tightly. Mom, it's a small thing from me. You have to accept it. After talking with her mother, Sophia went to her bedroom. She changed her clothes and freshened up. While standing beside her window, she looked at the moon, which was shining brightly. She wanted to shift and run for a long time in happiness, but she was an Omega. It was not safe for her to go into the forest alone, so she prevented herself from doing so. She stared at the moon and touched her lips. She blushed and thought, does he like me? Love me? Has he accepted me as his mate in his heart? Sophia got ready early, as she would have to reach university earlier today. Today, an assignment would be announced by a professor in which she would have to work in a group. After eating breakfast with her mother, she promptly left her home in a hurry. As soon as she got to the university, she made a hasty trip to the classroom to attend the lesson. Students in their junior and senior years were enrolled in the same marketing class because they had chosen to take it as an elective. As soon as Sophia walked inside the classroom, she noticed a large number of new faces. She realized they were their seniors. In an attempt to locate Sarah, she looked around. Luckily, the professor had not entered the class yet. Excuse me, a girl said, passing her. In order to make room for them, Sophia moved to the side of the door. Why are you standing here? Are you trying to get the attention of other boys? She heard a familiar voice. She rolled her eyes and ignored it. She did not have to turn to see her. That voice was none other than Luisa's voice. At that very moment, Sarah came to Sophia and grabbed her hand. I was waving at you. You couldn't see me. Let's go. Sophia smiled at Sarah as she took her to their seats. Sophia sat down and let out a sigh. I thought I came early today, but it looks like everyone has come before me. While sitting next to her, Sarah let out a chuckle. You appear to be in a good mood today. What's the matter, baby? Sophia pursed her lips to control her thoughts about last night. She could not forget the kiss. Every time she remembered it, she blushed. Hey, why are you blushing? What's going on in your head? Tell me. Sarah nudged her with her elbow and asked about it. Sophia patted her own cheeks. Oh my God, if I keep blushing, how will I face him today? She muttered. Sarah leaned toward her and overheard her. There is no way I will let you go before telling me. Come on, Sophia, tell me. Sophia turned her head toward Sarah and told her what had happened last night. Since they were sitting on the last bench, no one paid attention to them. Sarah gasped with a surprised look. You two kiss. Before Sophia could utter the words aloud, she covered her mouth with her hand. Sarah pushed her hand away from her mouth and smirked at her. Didn't I tell you jealousy is the biggest way to make his inner thoughts come out? See, he is in love with you. Sophia flushed red. She lowered her head and bit her lower lip. Sarah hugged her tightly. My baby, I'm so happy for you. Sophia chuckled at her cute behavior. "Excuse me, girls, what are you two doing?" After breaking the hug, they turned their attention to Nolan, who was standing next to their bench with his hand on his hip. "I'm doing whatever with my baby. What's it with you?" Sarah asked him while wrapping her hand around Sophia's shoulder. Sophia could see that the couple had a fight between them. She unwrapped Sarah's hand from her shoulder and grabbed Nolan's hand. She placed Sarah's hand on his hand and asked, "You two, what happened to you? Have you had a fight?" "Ask your friend what she did last night," Nolan said, sitting on the bench next to theirs. "Don't listen to him, Sophia. I didn't do anything wrong." "Oh, please, who was flirting with the waiter?" Nolan inquired, rolling his eyes. But he had not let Sarah's hand go yet. Sarah turned her head toward Sophia and winked at her, then whispered, "He wasn't giving me much time. Now look, how he is coming after me. Jealousy is the medicine of love." Sophia laughed at her words. She could not deny that Sarah was kind of right. Though she felt hurt by Brian's words, she could not ignore the kiss. That was the first kiss they shared together. When the professor entered the class, everyone kept silent. He started his lecture while talking about the assignments. Sophia tried her best to pay attention to the professor. The door flung open, and a boy stepped inside the class. "Mr. Morrison, you are late," the professor said while looking at him. During the time that Bruce was looking around the classroom, Sophia gazed at him. "I'm sorry, Professor," Bruce replied, walking in the direction of Sophia. Sophia averted her gaze and tried to ignore him properly. Bruce sat down a few seats away from her bench, which caused her to feel relieved. She noticed he sat with his friends. She almost forgot about his friends. At the end of the class, the professor called out names and told them about their groups. Sarah clapped her hands when the professor called Nolan's name in her group. But later, when he did not call Sophia's name, she felt upset. "You will get a better team. Don't worry," Sarah said, rubbing Sophia's arm. As Sophia was about to give her a nod, the professor called out two names that she was not familiar with. Then, the professor referred to her, Sophia Berge. Sophia raised her hand. After giving a slight nod at her, the professor turned his head to another person, and Bruce Morrison. As soon as she heard him, Sophia was completely taken aback. Immediately, she rose up and inquired, "Professor, is it possible for me to change a member of the group? If you want to shift me to another group, it would be fine with me too." The professor frowned at her. "Do you think all these students here will listen to you and change their groups for you? Who are you to decide it?" Bruce stood up and nodded his head. "Professor, she is disrespecting your choice. Don't change the group based on her wish. You are our professor, and only you can decide it." The professor's jaw dropped as he had never seen Bruce so attentive before. He was behaving like an obedient student. Students around them understood the situation between the two exes, and they began to laugh. Silence. The professor yelled at everyone. Meanwhile, Sophia stared at Bruce, giving him a stern look. She could have convinced the professor if he had not interrupted. Bruce turned his head and winked at her. There was a smirk on his face, indicating that she would have to stay with him, even if it was for a while. The professor looked at Sophia and said, "Get familiar with your group. From next month, you will be required to start working together with them to complete the assignment."